This video is basically about interviews again, but to a very specific portion of interview being the start, and I will reflect on the very famous question asked by almost everybody who's interview, like introduce yourself, tell a bit about yourself, etc. There can be varieties of this question, but the essence is the same. So I'll be touching on that, and I'll be touching on multiple factors like what's the importance of this question, why it's asked, what you should do to prepare, what you shouldn't do. So a couple of bits and pieces on different areas I'll be covering in that. When you get the call and the interview is there, so what happens when you join the interview is, uh, let's say, so I'll be focusing this interview on big four basis, basically the firm's culture, the way firms interviews are conducted, because this video is focused on for those people. So when you join the call, the person, for the job you're applying for, there will be a manager, senior manager, director, anyone, and they will introduce their team, themselves, basically what they do, what they don't do, uh, what's their role, how long they have been with the team, etc. Just a bit about like a couple of minutes about themselves, just to make you comfortable, just to let you know what's happening over there. And then the tables turn. Time for a very famous question. Introduce yourself or tell me a bit about you, what do you do, etc. There can be a lot of things in that perspective. So before diving deep into the kind of a purpose of this question or how you should answer it, I think let's just say that this is a very open-ended question, and interviews are really trained to ask open-ended questions just to avoid yes or no answer from the interviewees. And this question can be very tricky because you need to prepare very well for it, and this basically serves kind of a basis for your whole interview. So now I'll reflect upon the purpose of this question, and then we'll go on why it's important. So purpose is simple. It's the initial question from the manager who is interviewing you to you, and it's kind of a serves as an icebreaker for you. Very easy, like it's just starts the conversation from you. Uh, they want to know you better, and apart from what's written in the resume, because resume can't give kind of much insight about the person. So your first statement actually tells a lot about you. And again, whatever you say in this statement, it will kind of serve as a basis for your whole interview. Basically, of course, not every question, but you are definitely going to be asked some questions from what you say. So that's why this is kind of a this is the purpose. Now, reflecting about the importance of this question. Now the question is this question really important, like to prepare? And I would say this is the most important question during your whole interview. Why this is important? I mean, there are a couple of reasons. Number one, it's the first question builds the impression. When you come into room or come on the camera, that's your initial impression in terms of your kind of attributes. But in terms of actually speaking, the way you speak, the way you present yourself, this is the first and creates the impression. Now this question actually serves as a basis for you to spotlight basically yourself in terms of your experience, in terms of your skills, how do they match with the job requirements. And you can just talk about yourself in a way to sell yourself basically from very start. And this kind of creates the interest in recruiters from their side, and they want to know more. And then you can even set the direction from your statement, like if you say I have worked this and this in this engagement, this not like exactly this engagement, if you say I worked in this sector, these are engagements, then they will ask those questions, and of course you have set a direction for the interview, so definitely serves very well in setting that. Another question is how to basically answer such question. It's such a tricky and open-ended question, and people can say a lot of different things from different perspective, and some of them might be interesting, some of them might kind of confuse the recruiter, some of them might be boring, and you don't want to lose the interest of the recruiter. So the answer to this question need to be thoroughly thought before the interview. It's not like you need to kind of remember everything and you are just going to say it. No, it won't work like that. It will look clearly fake, and the interviewers are really trained to spot it out, that you are just kind of yeah, putting something you have in your mind. Don't do that. Now the preparation is the key for this question. It's not like you need to remember anything. It's just like you need to understand what's the job requirements, have a thorough reading of the job description, do a bit of research about the company, the role you are going for, the team you are going for. uh, Need to do that, and on the basis of that, you need to link your current skills, your expertise, kind of areas of interest, your current motivations, etc., and try to bring an elevator pitch for yourself. So for it will kind of combine what's required by them and what you have, and this is the way you will in the end present yourself, right, to the interview. So once your elevator pitch is basically done and you know what points you are going to make for that job, of course you practiced ahead of that, based on the description, etc. Now in the actual interview, you need to draft it very carefully. Of course, again, not fake. You need to talk about it in a sequence. Basically, there can be a lot of ways depending on each job, but specifically looking to the big four, kind of, let's say you are applying for an AM job. Now, what will you say? You need to start the answer with, of course, by yourself, like who are you? Are you a qualified person? What's your core expertise? Just like very brief, and then you go on the experience, current experience, what you do, how does that link up with what's kind of required, and your prior experience. Of course, not too detailed, but just serving the purpose for this job, and then going through that. You can, and it shouldn't really take too much time, right? A couple of minutes at max. And going through that, in the end, you will talk about your kind of motivations for future, and then how this links up to the job you're applying for. So it's basically you talk a bit about yourself, then your skills, and then any accomplishments, and then what's your career motivation, and then you try to link up everything together. And don't, I would only say one thing: don't take it like too long, because in the end everybody will lose motivation, and this won't really serve any purpose. Another thing to note is sometimes some of the managers really can interrupt basically in between and ask a question. So that can happen, and in that moment of time, if you have had that kind of you remember something and you're trying to speak like very fast, then if somebody interrupts you, you won't be able to remember it again. That would be a very big problem because of your nerves. You might not be able to remember it, so don't do that. I think just a few things you need to really avoid basically in responding to the question. Number one is, of course, don't talk too much. If you just keep talking and never finishing the answer, or giving the irrelevant details like from the history where you got your matriculation or intermediate or A grades, blah blah, doesn't really make sense and it's not relevant. So don't do that. It will lead to losing interest by your manager, and you don't want that. And again, it's time consuming, and going to impact the other questions and the whole process in the end, so don't do that. Second is well, avoiding details, the personal details basically. Now it has been seen that little personal details are encouraged, like how, what to prefer, what to do, like bit about yourself, but not going into too much personal details. So unless somebody really asks you, that's a different story. But don't do that. That will just be bad. Other thing is, don't bore your recruiter. The interview is supposed to be a conversation between yourself and the hiring person. It's not like you're a robot and you're just giving the answers. No, it's a conversation, so it needs to be a bit of interesting and not like dull, which again loses interest for everybody. The last key point is, don't just talk your resume. They know you have a section of objective on the top, which I have seen more or less in everybody's CV, and then your education, work experience, skills. Don't do that. They have already seen that in the CV. The purpose of this question is to know more of you, the things that are not on CV. So you need to talk about those rather than just kind of talking about CV. I guess that's more or less on how to kind of introduce yourself. Of course, a tricky question. You need to practice ahead of the interview about that one. And I remember my time, this was one of the questions I need to practice a lot, because you can say things when you're talking, you can say more or less things that that you don't want to say, and just in a flow. So you need to practice a lot of that. And of course, over the time, if you have been through a couple of interviews, this question wouldn't be a problem for you at all. All right, I guess that would have been helpful for everybody. All right, bye.